Hello there, my name is Balmung. I'm going to be talking about what I think about the PS Plus service, more specifically the streaming part of it. I'm not going to make the distinction between the premium, essential, and extra or whatever. Essential, extra, premium. I don't actually know the tiers. I have the highest tier, so I just get access to everything. So I don't know what's included where. What I've been doing is since I've gotten that service, and I know that it was previously called PlayStation Now, but since I've gotten that service, I've taken the chance to take a look at like not necessarily my backlog, but I've taken a look at games I couldn't access because although I'm not sure if I still have a PlayStation 3. I'm not going to buy these games. These are mostly PlayStation 3 games, but I'm not going to buy all the games, even if they are cheap. And I'm not sure even if I could find them if I tried to find them physically. Also, I don't like physical games, so I've taken the chance to try out some games I'd never tried before, revisit some games I've played before, and sort of get a new perspective on them and see if they're actually worth the trouble. So the first game I tried was actually a game I've always been curious about, but for some reason never really researched it. I had a vague idea of what it was about from at the time, like trailers and stuff. But then I tried it, and to be honest, it did not impress me. I'm talking about Tokyo Jungle. So Tokyo Jungle, the way it was sold to me when it came out, which I assume was in the 2009 or something. I'm not actually sure when it came out. I thought it was just a game where I had so. What I knew about it is you were a Pomeranian, but you could be other animals, and the point was to survive in Tokyo. Hence the title Tokyo Jungle. What I thought was going to happen was there would be a story mode, and you would go through the game and do quests and maybe breed, and as soon as you were done with a certain type of animal, you would go to another type of animal or something like that. But there would be like a something to hook you. What the reality, unfortunately, is that Tokyo Jungle is just a straight up survival game. It's a survival game with limited resources that don't regenerate. And how do I explain this? So you have a hunger meter, right? And the hunger meter is constantly reducing. There is a point at which you may have killed everything in your area, and you need to go to another area to find more food. Your hunger meter drains faster than you can go to the other area. So I tried doing this several times, and what always ended up happening was I starved. And I figured out how to get around it. Like, you have to sort of ration, you have to plan it. But still, it wasn't a fun experience, and it is one of those games where you die, you lose everything. It's not very fun, the survival mode. So I thought, okay, let's never mind survival mode. Let's try story mode. The problem with story mode is that it only unlocks, like it's split up into chapters and episodes. It unlocks by playing survival mode. So you play a chapter in story mode, and then to unlock chapter 2, you have to do certain things in survival mode. So you have to constantly go back and forth between both modes. You can't just play one or the other, because if it was up to me, I would just play story mode. But no, I have to play survival mode, and survival mode is it's very big. There's a lot of stuff to do. So I played a lot of it. I played over 3 hours of it, and to be honest, it's not really worth it. I wish they would just do a new version of it. The way I see this game is it's sort of the same design philosophy as Dark Souls. It's the get good mentality, but what the reality is that the game is unfair and punishes you for not knowing everything about it from the get go. So you just have to suffer through it until you know all the mechanics, and then maybe you'll make it out. I can sort of get behind that for the Souls games, even though I have problems with the Souls games. But I can sort of get behind it for the Souls games because like it's an RPG. You acquire resources, you upgrade shit and stuff like that. The getting good part is not the fun part for me in those games. I prefer the like acquiring better weapons and equipment and stuff, and then you eventually can kill the boss. But here it's just you need to learn how to play the game, and I don't have time for that. I'm sorry, I don't have time to dedicate 5 to 10 hours to every game so I can learn the mechanics perfectly. There isn't enough here to motivate me to do that. Like I could do that. I can do that for a Souls game because I know the game's gonna show me more interesting stuff. In this case, highly doubtful. So I can't really recommend this game, but I would like someone to get it and like overhaul it. That would be pretty cool actually. Next game is another one that I remember when it came out, and I remember trailers for it and articles for it talking about how gorgeous it was and stuff. And to be honest, it is visually very interesting, but as soon as you start playing, you realize, oh, that is it. There isn't anything else. It's just a style thing. So this is a CyberConnect 2 game. So it's not that they always use a certain art style, but you sort of know. How do I put this? You know, so for those who've played the Naruto games from CyberConnect 2, you know those parts in boss fights where you have QTEs, quick time events, and you have to press a button to do a specific action that will help you win the battle or get more points when you win the battle. So imagine a game of almost exclusively that. Like it's just cutscenes and quick time events in the meantime. It's not really an interesting experience. This would in my opinion, this might be an interesting anime. This actually might be a very interesting anime because the story seems interesting. It's just that the game isn't, and the story isn't interesting enough for me to put up with the game's mechanics. Like there are plenty of games that have bad mechanics, but I'll still play because there's something else that motivates me to play. The thing is, the gameplay in this game is almost non-existent for me. Quick time events aren't gameplay. Like I know that there were a lot of there was an era for quick time events, and like the God of War games have quick time events, but it's not just the quick time events. There's a combat, and sometimes in the middle of the battle you have the quick time events. In this game, it's 90% quick time events, and the other section is either cutscenes. Well, the quick time events are in the middle of the cutscenes, but then there's I've only encountered one section because I stopped playing very quickly. There's another section where there's combat, but the combat is so bad. It's like it wants to be a Devil May Cry game, but it just the frame rate is completely inappropriate. It's not even 30 frames per second. To be honest, I would say that it's around the 20s or lower. It's really bad. Hopefully I'll be showing you that section. It's not good. This isn't an interesting game to play. But I would like to see the story without the quick time events. So an anime, even if they could even do it in the same art style, although hopefully not. But I just can't care about this game. It's just not interesting to play. Okay, this one's gonna be quick because I played it for like, I don't even know, not even 10 minutes. It's a game called Dark Mist, and hopefully I can show you. You start the game, and let's see, press start, main game. Yeah. There's a bit of text. There's a picture, and then there's the game. Like this text, I don't even understand how it's relevant. I understand that it might explain the character, but it doesn't really explain why you're playing the game. It doesn't make me care about this character. And then I start playing the game and I realize, oh, that there's nothing here. This is just this is basically an arcade game that they tried to sell. At least that's what I'm getting, because it at no point in the time I played did it get more interesting. Let me see if I finish. Yeah, I finished the level, and you just go into another level. There's no story there. I don't know why I'm doing this. I mean, there might be the explanation in the beginning might say why we're doing this, but I don't care, and the game doesn't make me care. It's just not. I can't recommend this game. I mean, you can try it. It's in the service, but dude, it's boring. Next one is another game I didn't play for very long. But not exactly, well, sort of the same reasons, but I just wasn't as frustrated with it as I was with Dark Mist. Is Star Wars Racer, Star Wars, is it just called Star Wars Racer Revenge? Star Wars Racer Revenge, yes. So I'm not sure if this and Pod Racer for Nintendo 64 are the same game. But this game is it's just a straight up a racing game. That's all it is. Like, one would think that there would be like a sort of a career mode, like you start as a random character and you have to make modifications to your pod racer or stuff. No, there's nothing. It's just you go in and you race against other people. I think this game exists only for... I know it has a supposed single player, but this game was made to be played like just casual racing against other players. Actually, I'm not even sure it has a multiplayer mode. I'm assuming it... Yes, player 1. Okay, so there might be a player 2. I don't know. There's nothing there. It's just a racing game, and I don't know how much they were charging for this. I hope it wasn't they didn't charge for full price, because this isn't a full price game. It just doesn't deserve to be full price. Not that it's not fun. It does control fairly well. It's just there's nothing there. Like, if you finish the first race and you realize, okay, we're just gonna do this again and again and again. Cool. And that's it. Next is another Star Wars game. A game I played in full. I played this and I played the sequel. It's Star Wars The Force Unleashed. So, here's the thing. I remember liking this game. and I do have a sort of a soft spot for the game, but I realize now that my soft spot is mostly regarding the story and the characters, not the game itself. And by game itself, I know it's too vague, but so it's a third it's basically a character. What was the name of the genre? Character action game, I think. So imagine like a Devil May Cry, and Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, that sort of game. The problem being that while they created a something here, they created a physics system for the Force, where you, like, when you push stuff, when you force push stuff, objects move, objects break, you can lift people. By people, I mean enemies and objects. But things interact with each other according to their physics engine, which is really cool. And then you have a story, which is, again, really cool. But then the fighting itself is just not well implemented, in my opinion. I remember playing this game, but I realize now that it's just because of the story, because the gameplay itself isn't that good, or at least it isn't good enough to be worth it on revisit. I wish they could do something with this story and these characters. And to be honest, I don't think there is a lot in this game that contradicts necessarily the current canon. So if they wanted to cut it, I would totally get it. But the game itself needs an overhaul. Like, I'm gonna bring up Devil May Cry again. So I played all the Devil May Cry games in a row fairly recently, like in the last 2 to 3 years. And I'll be honest, playing through Devil May Cry 1 and 2 was a chore. Those games are very much of their age. They don't play as well as people might think they remember them playing. Especially 1 and 2. 3 is although 3 also has a more interesting story, so you sort of get through it. No, but it does play better. 1 and 2, especially 2, but 2, we don't talk about 2. But there's sort of an unfairness to the game, where you either do things perfectly, like don't get hit at any point, or do perfect combos, or the game is going to punish you and you have to start the level over again. I don't actually remember if you die, if you start the game all over again in the Force Unleashed. But I do remember that the fighting wasn't it isn't fun. Like the moves are interesting, but it's really hard to explain. Like, Devil May Cry 5 is such a perfect realization of the idea of the franchise, that it's difficult to go back to that kind of game again. And Devil May Cry 5 is very forgiving. You can redo stuff. And I was gonna say that I don't know why games were made that way, but I do know why games were made that way, and Masahiro Sakurai of Smash Bros. and Kirby stated so clearly in one of his latest videos, which is that games are made artificially hard to prolong their lifetime, and I'm sorry, that doesn't make the game better. That's never made, for me, a game lasting a long time because it's difficult has never made the game better for me. And again, I'm not saying that the Star Wars: The Force Unleashed is especially hard. I'm just saying its difficulty does not make the game more enjoyable. It's for me, it only makes it more frustrating. The most interesting stuff you do in this game is just play around with the physics engine, but then you've sort of done everything you can with the physics engine, and you just have to go through the game. I would love a series, like an animated series that could get Sam Witwer again, like something. But this just isn't. It really isn't a game that I can recommend on gameplay alone. I can say, look, the story is interesting. Get through the gameplay. I know the story, so I have no motivation to play it again and get through what I feel is a not very interesting experience. Okay, this is the only PS4 game that is in this video. I say it's PS4, but if I'm not mistaken, it was a PS3 game. I think I played it on PC back in the day, but it was remastered. So I played it. I played the PS4 version, PS4 remaster. It's Red Faction Guerrilla. So I've never played any other games in the Red Faction franchise. This I really liked this game back when I played it, like 10 years ago maybe. But replaying it, I realized something, which is that one of the reasons I enjoyed this game, and one of the reasons that open world games are as popular as they are, is that they take up a lot of time. So if you buy an open world game, you have content for, depending on how often you play, like you have content for a few weeks, a few months, maybe a year. The problem is it does that by being bloated, by giving you too much stuff to do, too many collectibles, very few of which actually matter or make a substantial difference. And you just realize, if you've played enough of these games, you just realize at some point that the developers don't really respect the player's time, and they're just putting obstacles in front of you, so the experience takes longer, and that's not enjoyable for me. So what this game is about is you're part of the Mars resistance. And what you have to do is basically be a saboteur. You have to demolish buildings and vehicles and kill the bad guys. Much like the Star Wars Force Unleashed game, it's mostly about the physics. They developed a really interesting physics engine where you break buildings apart, and once they've been broken enough or broken in the right way, the building will come down. Actually, the building will start coming down in a very intelligent way, based on sort of whether the supports are stable or not. That's really interesting. You get to experiment a lot with that. Like you get to break supports partially, but not completely, or just put remote charges and then detonate them all at once, so that the building comes down all at once, and that's really interesting. But then you've tried that a couple of times, much like the Star Wars Force Unleashed thing. You've tried that a couple of times, and then you realize, oh, that was it. That's the game, and you just have to do that over and over and over and over again, which in a lot of games isn't a problem, because a lot of games have an interesting story to support it. Like you understand what mission you're going on. You're going to demolish a building, but what building? Why does that building matter? And in this game, I can't remember anything about any of the characters or any of the buildings I destroyed. It's just the story isn't very very good. It's very bare bones. It's really just a, hey, here's an overall plot, but that's it. And there's not really much here to keep me playing, which is why I stopped playing. I might come back to it if I have a like, it's a good brainless game. Like, you can shut off your brain and play this game. That's cool. But there's really not much else. So the last game I'm going to talk about is of the games I've tried, and especially the games in this video, the one that was the biggest surprise. So I'd heard about this game, Puppeteer, back in the day when it came out, which apparently it says here it was 2013, so well into the PS3 console cycle. I think 2013 might have been when the PS4 came out. No, that seems, no, that might have been it. Yeah. So it's a platforming game, mostly like a character platformer, with just the main character being a puppet. Actually, the whole, all the characters are puppets, which is really interesting because it's sort of a puppet theater game. You're just seeing the story being played on a stage, and you're sort of going from scene to scene, and the scene rotate, the stage rotates and stuff, and everything basically in the game operates like it's a play. The platforming is really good, but most of what keeps you engaged in this game is that the story and the writing are amazing. They very early on explain the basics of the story, and just they have such a good sense of humor, and they're so witty that you just keep playing just to see what they're gonna come up with next. And actually, halfway through the game, because I ended up playing the whole game. I think all the episodes might have been published already on my channel. Halfway through the game, you realize the story. What I mean by this, this is a very archetypical story. But I only realized it like halfway through the game. It's a story I've seen played in other places, but it's very well told with a great sense of humor. The gameplay is really interesting. There's a reason to come back if you want to replay the levels, but they don't overstay their welcome. The length of the levels is really good. The game isn't punishing at all. It lets you get away with a lot, which is cool, because then you can just get on with the story. But there's always something to be gained from not dying and doing everything really carefully and exploring everything. I really enjoyed this game, and I highly recommend it. And I think that's it. Of all the games included in this video, this is by far the most interesting one, and the only one that I can unequivocally recommend. I mean, there's even musical numbers, and they make fun of the fact that there are musical numbers. Like, they sort of make fun of musicals in general and Disney specifically. It's really funny, and I really hope more people try it. I wish that there was a PS4 version of it, just so they could tighten up the graphics on level 4. No, but seriously, just to improve the stability and the frame rate, because streaming is complicated, and it's I know they're trying to figure out emulation for PS3 games on PS4, and I hope they do figure it out, because streaming isn't the most enjoyable experience at all times, and also not everyone has a stable internet connection. Thankfully for the games I tried here, it all went well, but for some people it might not, and it would be really shitty if they were, especially because these are older games and there aren't as many checkpoints. Imagine you're playing a level and just the internet has an issue and you lose like 20-30 minutes, 1 hour of progress. Like that isn't fun for anyone. But if you can't play these kinds of games, I recommend playing Puppeteer. It's a really, really good game, and it's really funny, good writing, and more people should try it out. So yeah, next time I hope to have other types of games. I mean, I did try a lot of different games. I'm gonna try and do a few more of the classics, but I like to try new stuff anyway. So you might have some PlayStation exclusives, but I'm gonna try some weird random games like Puppeteer. Like Puppeteer is a Sony game, but I'm gonna try stuff that isn't as more indie stuff, more unknown stuff. So maybe I'll find some gems and maybe I'll be able to recommend them. So until next time, have a good one.